So we're Kelsey and Esther. We are the counseling interns here, and today we're going to be talking about enhancing self-esteem. So what do you guys think that self-esteem has to do with weight loss? Any ideas? I see some typing. Feeling good about ourselves? How you feel about the way that you look? Yeah, so your body's changing, right? So that can affect the way that you think about yourself, and yeah, we want to feel good about the way that we look, right? Or the way that we feel. So we're gonna get started. Let's see. So what is self-esteem? It is a realistic, appreciative opinion of oneself. So that means that we're aware of both our strengths and our weaknesses, right? So, you know, remembering that growth is important, right? No one's perfect. We all have our flaws, but we also all have really good things about ourselves, and taking the time to appreciate those things. It's also an overall good feeling of where you are right now, but humble, you know, reminding yourself how you got there, and understanding that life is a journey and there's always a lot to learn, right? We never want to stop learning or stop growing. So does anyone have any other definitions of self-esteem that they'd like to share? All right, I don't see any typing, so I will move on. So why is self-esteem important? People with lower self-esteem can suffer from depression, anxiety, chronic pain, anger, and other health problems. And self-esteem is associated with feelings of happiness and the ability to live a fulfilling life. So self-esteem can kind of give you the confidence to live the way that you want to live your life, I think. And having low self-esteem can be really easy to beat yourself up, right? And it kind of becomes a cycle. All right, so how do we build our self-esteem, right? So the three components are unconditional worth, love for yourself, and having this growing mindset. So, remembering that we all make mistakes, right? But we all are worthy of love and understanding and companionship, and we all deserve to be happy, right? But also reminding ourselves that, we all have work to do too. Does anyone have anything else that they think contributes to self-esteem? No. Okay. All right, so we're going to do a little self-esteem checkup to see where everybody's at. So if you want to maybe grab a pen and a piece of paper, or if you can see the PowerPoint. Let's see, comparing ourselves to others. So do you think that's helpful for self-esteem or unhelpful to build self-esteem? Not helpful. Awful. Yeah, so when we compare ourselves to others, right, it's, sometimes we're not really seeing a clear picture of them or how we compare to them, or sometimes it's not a fair comparison, right? If you compared an apple and an orange, right, it's not the same thing, and, everyone has different things about them that make them who they are. Okay.
Just on that note, also, it depends on who we compare ourselves to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's upward comparisons where we're comparing ourselves to people who we think are doing better than us, and then there's downward comparisons of comparing ourselves to people who we believe are doing worse than us at something. And there'll always be two types, so it's up to you to choose which one. And the downward comparisons will make you feel better about yourself, also probably don't give you the same drive. Then the upward comparisons will maybe not make you feel so great about yourself. They also give you drive, but you have to be careful with them, because we can always compare ourselves to people who we believe are doing better than us. There'll always be both types. So it's up to us to choose.
All right. Yeah, so let's do this self-esteem checkup. Let's kind of see where we're at. So for each of there's 12 statements here. So for each of them, kind of figure out where you are. If, 0 would be like completely disagree. 10 would be I strongly agree. So take a few minutes to look through these and kind of see where you're at. Okay. Yeah, welcome. So we're talking about self-esteem today. So we're just doing a little self-esteem checkup to kind of see where we're at. So if you want to go through and rate yourself 0 to 10 on each of the statements here. So, and no one needs to share their answers. They're just for you. So do we need more time, maybe about another minute, or has everyone had a chance to look these over? One person's done. Two people are done. Okay. Done. All right. Okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. Kind of the virtual group, sometimes it's hard to know where everybody's at. All right, so one more follow-up question. When thinking about your self-esteem, how do you feel like it impacts your daily activities? So whether this is your weight loss, your interactions with other people, your abilities at work. And you also don't need to share this answer with us if you're not comfortable. But it's just something to think about, right? How is this affecting the way that I move through the world?
All right. Well, let's move to unhelpful thinking. So the first point about this, I'll reframe that as a statement saying we all have an inner critic, right? It's not a question, it's just what is our inner critic saying and how strong is our inner critic and how much power do we give it. So we all have an inner critic and that's totally normal. So just to ask yourself what, if any of you want to share what thoughts you have that you think are defeating, either with your weight loss or with other areas in life. I'd appreciate if someone wants to share. I also know it's kind of a private topic. Just remember all of this is anonymized, so people don't see your name, they just see user 1, user 2. But there's no pressure to share. I can start. So think of some, and I'd appreciate if there was someone who'd like to share. I can start with myself. Sometimes I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and there's this drive, this thought that everything that's less than perfect isn't good enough. So that's one of my defeating thoughts, because that's unrealistic, right? Does anyone else want to share some unhelpful thoughts, some defeating thoughts? I see someone's typing. That if I mess up, I cannot get back on track. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I hear a lot during my behaviorist visits. That what if you have gone, and that's a defeating thought, because then you're not taking control of things and you feel powerless. This I can't get back on track. I must not mess up. Then messing up all of a sudden becomes a scary thing. And I eat off plan, I've failed again. So seeing off plan eating choices as a personal failure, so tying that very closely to our self-worth, which that's unhelpful to have such an emotional reaction to it. Our worth depends on staying on plan, and just negative thoughts in general. Yeah. So negative thoughts about yourself. And in all of this, I know the topic is self-esteem, and I hear self-esteem issues in all of them. I don't have the ability to get back on plan. I'm worthless as a person if I don't stay on plan. Making this a lifestyle so I can keep the weight off and not seesaw. Yeah. Okay. So that would be that you're trying to think more positively about that, of making it a lifestyle change, or is it that making a lifestyle change is something that seems unachievable? And I see I'm getting a response there, a clarifying response. And then I know one user just shared she agrees with those, so you're not alone. There's more people who have those thoughts, and the ones that I've read in here now are very common, I think. So, well, not the first time I've lost the weight and go an ongoing battle. Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, I'm glad to hear that you are having success in this program, but that battle with weight loss, right? It becomes exhausting. So even that is an unhelpful thought. So yeah, thank you guys for sharing. I see one more person typing, so maybe I'll allow for one more. So let's hear it. It's really hard for those that are depressed, that have anxiety, hard cycle to break. Yes, definitely. Especially because depression and anxiety often go so hand in hand with weight loss, and those feelings of I failed as a person, and then all the emotional eating that's linked to depression and anxiety, all of that, it makes weight loss really challenging. So thank you for sharing that. And I think that this presentation on self-esteem can kind of help us remind ourselves of our self-worth as a person, which might help with depression as well. So are you aware of those thoughts? Well, you've just shown me that you clearly are aware of those thoughts. So I'd encourage you to pay attention to those thoughts throughout the day whenever you have them, and realize that that's just one way of looking at the world, and that there's a lot of other thoughts that you can think. That's not to say those thoughts are not okay, but they're only part of the truth. They're only the negative thoughts, and there's a lot of positive thoughts that we can also think, which Kelsey will get to later. So accepting them as part of the picture and kind of becoming more aware of them. So we all have those thoughts at some point. How much do they impact you? I'm just asking that as a question now. Do they impact you a little bit, or a lot, or kind of normal? Where would you see yourself? A lot. Always comparing myself to others, often not in a good way. Okay, so there's that upward comparison of others are doing better than I am. Okay, depends on if I'm staying on program or not. Variable. So again, that staying on program is tied to self-worth. So that, so again, with the comparing yourself to others, there will always be others who you think are doing better at a certain thing than you are. So those comparisons, even if we try and then reach that level, then there's another level to be reached. So it'll never stop. So really it's about changing that mindset. Okay, so I do see that it affects people a lot here. And just, I'm gonna make this a quick question because I think we've already kind of answered it, but what does self-esteem have to do with our thoughts? Does anyone wanna respond to that? Yeah, our thoughts mold our self-esteem. I really like that. That way of putting it that way. And I see some more people typing. So rationally, I know that self-esteem is controllable, but emotionally, I have a hard time changing. Yeah. So that's when our head and our heart, if I may call it that, there sometimes seems a little bit of a disconnect. What seems right in our head doesn't always feel like what's possible to do. Yeah. If you feel good about yourself, then you will have good thoughts, and vice versa. And it hijacks our thoughts if it's low. Yeah. So self-esteem is hijacking our thoughts. I like that. Yeah. Great. And then some affirmation there for another user. So we're done with that. So I think we have a lot of rich discussion here. So let's go on and let's look at some unhelpful thinking patterns. And before we go into any of those, I just want to say that they're completely normal and we all do them. So it's human nature, and basically what it is that our brain likes the world to be predictable, and whenever there's something where we don't know the answer, our mind likes to simplify or fill in the blanks. So in a way, that's just a way of better predicting the world, and in a way that's telling yourself that your brain is very creative. So if you have a lot of them, think of it as you're a very creative person. The all or nothing thinking is one of the ways in which our brain tries to make the world a simpler place, which helps us put things into categories and just be more, see more of a structure in the world. So it's also called black and white thinking. So there's no gray. Things are either black or white, and I'm either on plan or off plan, and there's no gray in the middle of. I made one off plan choice, but I'm still mainly on plan. So usually it doesn't happen, or I see that a lot in weight loss with people who who maybe diet for 2 weeks and follow a very, very strict diet, and then are off the diet and go back completely disregarding any kind of healthy eating patterns. So that's where I would see black or white thinking as underlying that of I'm either doing it perfectly or I'm not doing it at all. And really what we try, and the opposite of that is moderation. So accepting that it's never black and white, it's always some gray in the middle. So you're never, with the making whether you stay on plan or not, it's never completely one way or the other, it's always somewhere in the middle. So overgeneralizations is seeing a pattern based on a single event, or being unusually broad or overly broad in the conclusions that we draw. So I wasn't on plan on this one day, therefore I'm an overall failure at weight loss. So you can see how that's irrational to draw that conclusion based on that one incident. One day you were off plan, but often that's what we do. Disqualifying the positives, that's just paying attention to all those negative statements that we make, and not really paying any attention to any successes that we see. So maybe you've been food journaling really well this week, but you're not paying attention to that because you're just paying attention to that one day I had a glass of wine, or my scale didn't go down this week. So that would be an example of disqualifying the positive. And then should statements. I heard a lot of should statements earlier in your discussion of I should stay on plan was one should statement that I heard. And really that's setting an expectation where if we don't meet that expectation, then we beat ourselves up, and that's often not healthy emotionally for us. So another way to reframe that is to say, I would like to stay on plan. It's my goal, but if it's not this expectation that's there, because it can induce this sense of failure. And if we apply shoulds to other people, the result is often frustration. So if you say, everyone else should treat me with, everyone else should be kind to me, nobody should eat in front of me, then you're often frustrated when it does happen. So otherwise, if you say, well, it'd be nice if they didn't eat in front of me, but if not, they are their own person, they can do what they want, then you avoid frustration in life. And then personalizing is stuff like, this is my fault, or I'm a failure if things go wrong. So it's blaming yourself or taking responsibility for something that wasn't maybe your fault. Or it can also be blaming others for something that was your fault. So it could also be, well, it's their fault that I went off plan because they were eating in front of me, so they triggered me. Then mind reading is that you think. So that's a really creative way of, if we don't know what another person is thinking, we kind of draw conclusions, or we make something up what we think they're thinking. And that's natural to do, but we mustn't mistake it for the truth. So just because we say, I think Kelsey looks bored right now, or I think Kelsey thinks I'm taking way too long on this slide, that doesn't mean she's actually thinking that. That's just something I'm making up on the spot right now. So the only way to know is to ask her, right? And to otherwise realize that I just don't know for sure. There could be a million different explanations that I'm not aware of. And then labeling is, I heard a label earlier, failure, stupid, all those labels that we assign to ourselves. I'm a loser, I'm useless, I'm an idiot, all of those are labels. So I just wanted to hear from you if what you think is the one that you see yourself doing the most often, or if you can give any examples when you do that. I know I'm big into should statements. I see someone typing. Disqualifying the positive, yeah. So one way of dealing with that is trying to really, now that you're aware of that, you can pay more attention to it. Okay, trying to make it a goal to really pay attention to your successes, and I think that can, it can give a much more balanced pictures. So again, none of these are wrong. They're just unbalanced, and they're not the whole truth. They're, yeah. Does anyone else want to share? I set the bar too high for myself and having an unrealistic picture, which I think should be achievable. Yeah, so that's perfectionism. I think it's a little bit related to the should statement. I should be perfect. Yeah. Can also relate to, some of them are not as clean cut. It might also be the all or nothing thinking, I'm either perfect or I'm a failure, or it could be disqualifying the positive, and just, I have this goal and like any successes don't matter as long as I'm not perfect. So it can be a couple of those, that perfectionism. Okay. Thanks guys for sharing. We're gonna move on. So here's a couple of examples, and you might see I'm never going to lose weight. So that's an overgeneralization, right? I must be lazy if I go to the gym. If I don't go to the gym, that's a little bit of labeling going on. I'm lazy. Susie from the group has lost weight. If I was just more like her, so that's a comparison, and I should be able to. So that should statement, and that project at work failed all because of me, that personalization, and I only lost 1 pound, and I only did 10 minutes of exercise, not 150. So that's disqualifying the positive. That's not paying attention to the 100 minutes you did do, but the 150 minutes that you didn't do. So how could those thoughts get in the way of reaching your goals? They're all negative, yeah. It's limiting ourselves. Say more. Yeah. To only see the negative is limiting yourself? Yeah, because that's not giving yourself the whole picture, right? And they can make you want to give up. Very, very true. So that's a lot of times the reasons people maybe give up on weight loss is because of those thoughts. Yeah, and they're discouraging, yes. So whilst on the surface, some of them might seem motivational, oh, I can do 150s, I can do more. We have to be careful that they're really discouraging and beating ourselves up. And that can lead to us giving up. Things we say to rationalize mistakes then become self-defeating. Yes, very good. That's amazing. So let's move on. All of those are really good points. So what we can do, so we were very negative here for a while, right? So let's try and be more positive. So we can reframe those thoughts, right? And we are actually more in control of our thoughts than we imagine. So part of it is what I already said, is just being aware of them and remembering that that's not the truth, but that's actually faulty thinking can be one way. Or also we can change them to more positive thinking. So let's practice. I'm never going to lose weight. How would you change that to a more positive thought? I see a lot of people typing. It takes a long time to put it on, and it will just take just as long to take it off. Yeah? So replacing this never, which is a very drastic all or nothing statement, right, with something it will just take time. Yeah. So I'm not going to lose weight quickly, but I will lose weight eventually, right? Yeah, great. I must be lazy if I don't go to the gym. How about that? How can we make that more? Someone says, I don't know. Well, you don't go to the gym. Does anyone else have? So, first of all, lazy is a very harsh label. I'm active all day and can do little things like park farther away to get more exercise. Okay, great, yeah. So the gym isn't the only way to be active, right? First of all. So just because you don't go to the gym doesn't mean you're lazy. Yeah, so you can do little spurts of exercise. So it's not all about if I don't go to the gym, I'm a lazy person. Also, if you're already labeling yourself a lazy person, then that's just discouraging again. So one way of reframing that is, yeah, I'm not going to the gym, so maybe I need a better motivation, like finding a friend to go with, or maybe I haven't found the exercise yet that I really enjoy, or maybe the gym isn't for me and I need to still find what way suits me to really exercise. Okay, great stuff.
And I think about the situation too, or the context. You know, if you're sick, don't go to the gym.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
That's not laziness. That's, you know, a real concern, and you're taking care of your body.
Right. Susie Q from group has lost weight. If I was just more like her, how would you reframe this? How would you make a more positive statement? Everyone's different, yeah. How about comparing yourself to, she did it so I can? Great. I like it. Yeah. So seeing it as a motivation rather than something that defeats you. Find out what Susie Q did that was different from what I'm doing. Great. So being proactive about it rather than defeatist. So she lost weight. I wonder what she did. I want to do the same so I can lose weight too. Yeah. I should be able to stay on plan every day. Life happens. Very, very true. And we actually said it's unrealistic. Nobody, I don't think there's a single person on the program who hasn't made one off-plan choice. You're human. we're all human, so I would like to stay on plan as much as I can, while also accepting that I'm only human, right? Yeah. That project at work failed, all because of me. I don't see anyone typing. I would say a project didn't go as well as I would have liked. What could I do differently? Just accepting that it's not all your fault. So some of it was your maybe, but also we're not looking at blame. Just, yeah, it didn't go as well as you liked. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, or reminding yourself, I did all that I could with everything that I had in front of me at that moment, and maybe I didn't have all the information, maybe I didn't have the support that I needed, maybe the project was just doomed from the start, but I tried my best and I did all that I could in the moment.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And guys, I promise this one is the last one, the one that's coming now. I only lost 1 pound and I only did 100 minutes of exercise, not 150. How would you reframe that? Maybe our member who says that he or she tends to disqualify the positive. Maybe that would be a good chance to practice a positive statement for you. I'll give you guys some time. Yay, I lost 1 pound. Great. I like it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'm going to let Kelsey do that because Kelsey is really big into positive affirmations. Not saying that I'm not, but
it's my jam. Yeah, so positive affirmations, right? These are ways that you can remind yourself throughout the day, or if you find yourself having a defeating thought, kind of stopping yourself and maybe reframing it, and then maybe adding a little extra with a little positive affirmation. So the way that you want to do it so that it feels like it's going to have the biggest impact, right? If I said to myself, like, I am the best behaviorist ever, right? That's not really going to feel true because I'm an intern. I just started doing this, and I know that I still have a lot to learn, right? So you want to make sure your positive affirmations are realistic, something that you can believe when you're telling it to yourself. So you want to personalize them with the word I. Okay, I am. Using the present tense, not the future tense, right? So we all have goals, we all have things that we're striving towards, but by phrasing it in the future, it's kind of like, well, I'm not there yet. So you want to think about something that you already are, right? That's how we're building our self-esteem. We're appreciating what we already are. Keeping them positive, right? Sometimes we can kind of give ourselves backhanded compliments, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that it's a true compliment, and keeping it short and sweet, something that it's really easy to think quickly. If you have a paragraph of positive affirmations, well, that's wonderful. It might be hard to remember to sit and list all of them, right? So maybe just one quick one that you keep in your back pocket. Repeating it to yourself daily. So maybe it's while you're brushing your teeth. Wow, like, I'm thinking like, my eyes would look really pretty today, or I'm going to do my best today at work, or I'm a really good friend, or I'm a really good mom. Something that you can find a place in your routine to add that in. Or when you're journaling, I made an all-planned choice. I'm working really hard on my weight loss goals. So what are some examples of some positive affirmations? I think I gave a bunch, but does anyone have any other examples? see some typing. I've lost pounds. 1/4 of the way to my goal. Yeah, I've worked really hard at my goal, right? I'm working hard every day and I'm seeing success, right? I am a success. So, and how can these help you build your self-esteem? Self-motivating, yeah. You know, I'm having a hard day, life is getting in the way, but, you know, I was trying. You know, I was doing my best. Focusing on the positive instead of the negative. Yeah, giving yourself some credit, right? I see some more typing. See, I still see someone typing, so we'll just give them a minute. Okay, well, while they're typing, I just wanted to share kind of a strategy that I heard about recently that I've been using that I think is really helpful. So, you know, we have passwords for everything, right? You're always, even to get into your phone, you got to type in a password. At work, you know, sometimes you have to change your password every 3 months, and it's like, you know, there's only so many combinations of my pet's names that I can, you know, come up with. So the idea is to change your password to a positive affirmation, right? So this way, you know, I get locked out of Epic like every 10 minutes, so I'm typing in my password like 50 times a day. That's a lot of affirming. Right? And because it's a new password, it's something different that you're not used to typing, it kind of makes you take a second to focus on typing it in and reminding yourself that it's this little extra affirmation that you've built into your day. So I've been trying that out, so I thought that I would share that idea with all of you. Someone likes my idea? Thank you. Well, it's not my idea, I wrote about it, but let's see. Yeah, so I hope that you know, it's a way to infuse it into your daily life, and then after 3 months, or however long your password has before it expires, you know, come up with something new. So, all right. So, if you've, you know, walking away from today, putting in some of these tips into your daily life, and thinking about those unhelpful thoughts. If anything is kind of lingering, or you're having trouble with, you know, trying to figure out how to change your thoughts, bring them up in your next behaviors visit. We'd be very happy to help you kind of hammer some of that out if needed. So, does anyone have any questions right now?
Positive affirmation that was mentioned to me is to wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I'm slim, trim, happy, healthy, and I love my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that hits all of them, right?
Looking in the mirror while saying it is very affirming as well.
Yes.
Adds an extra layer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So, it doesn't look like anyone has any questions. So we will end the meeting in just a minute. I just want to say thank you to all of you for the great conversation that we had. Lots of ideas and
yeah, I think we had a really rich discussion there. So that wouldn't have been possible without all of you guys sharing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, so when we close the meeting, you'll get redirected to our survey. So if you fill out the survey, you'll get your PERCA point. And we appreciate the feedback on the virtual group. So thank you all so much for coming today, and see you again.